Discipline without spanking is possible. And if you've ever spanked your child and immediately felt it in your chest, that tightening, that sick wave of dread washing over you the moment was over, your body is already trying to tell you that something needs to change. That feeling isn't weakness, it's information. I'm currently working with a mom, a genuinely loving, thoughtful, committed mom, who fairly regularly spanks her 6-year-old daughter. Her husband does too. And when I watch her in our sessions, what I see is not a parent who doesn't care. I see a parent who is utterly torn, who reaches for spanking because it's the tool she knows, and then feels sick about it afterwards every time. If that's you, if you spank, or if you live in a home where spanking happens, and some part of you is quietly wondering whether it's doing more harm than good, this video is for you. Because every time you use physical punishment, hoping to teach a lesson, the lesson your child actually walks away with may be the opposite of what you intend. And the longer it continues, the more it costs your child's behavior, your relationship, and the way you feel about yourself as a parent. I'm Dr. Lindsay Emerson. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I work with families navigating exactly this every single day. This is the first time that I brought this topic to my channel, and I'm really glad that I finally did. In this video, I'm going to share the single most important shift that helped this mom finally start to change her approach. And it's not what most parents expect. And if you stay until the end of this video, I'm going to share the exact reframe that made discipline without spanking feel not just possible, but natural. You thought spanking works, and you're right, it does in the short term. Let's start with something that I want you to hear clearly. If you spank and it stops the behavior in the moment, you're not imagining it. Here's why. Psychologist B.F. Skinner demonstrated through decades of research that behavior is shaped by its consequences, a concept known as operant conditioning. One of the tools in that system is punishment. When a behavior is followed immediately by an unpleasant consequence, that behavior is suppressed. So spanking is immediate. It's physical, it's startling. So, yes, in the moment, the behavior stops. I've started calling this pattern the compliance illusion because what you're seeing is real, but it's not the full picture. Here's what that picture is missing. Punishment doesn't teach your child what to do instead. It only teaches them what not to do in front of you when consequences feel immediate. For most kids, the behavior doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It waits for the next moment when you're not watching. The mom I work with described exactly this. Her daughter stopped the behavior the instant she spanked, and then did the exact same thing 20 minutes later. She wasn't failing, the strategy was. And if you learned growing up that spanking is an effective parenting strategy, that makes complete sense. Many of us were spanked as kids. The short term compliance was easy to mistake for evidence that it actually works. The problem isn't that you got it wrong. The problem is that the short term picture doesn't show the full story. And here's the part that surprises most parents because the research doesn't just show that spanking doesn't work, it shows what to do instead. Now, you may have thought if spanking produces compliance, there must be something right about it. What could the research actually show that's worse than what I'm already dealing with? Here's what it shows. In 2016, researchers Elizabeth Gershoff and Andrew Grogan-Kaylor published one of the most comprehensive analyses ever conducted on this topic, reviewing 75 studies on spanking and child outcomes. Spanking was not associated with any improvement in child behavior over time, but it was consistently associated with increased aggression, increased antisocial behavior, worsened mental health, lower self esteem, and this one, more strained parent child relationships. I want to say on that last one for a moment because parents who spank, in my experience, are not doing it out of cruelty or indifference. They're doing it because they love their child. They want their child to grow up knowing where the lines are, and they've run out of tools in that moment. And then they feel terrible afterwards. The guilt, I want you to hear me say this clearly. That guilt is not a sign that you're broken. It's your nervous system doing its job. It's your body motivating you towards change. It's information. and you should listen to it. You're not a terrible parent, but you are ready for something better, and that something better exists. Now, the thing that actually changed everything for this mom wasn't learning a new strategy. It was a mini psychology lesson. And I'm going to teach it to you right now because once you see your child's behavior through this lens, you will never look at it the same way again. First, real fast though, I want to tell you that one of the frameworks that I walk through in my free workshop is called the 5 C's. And one of those C's, which I call consequences, is entirely about what actually produces lasting behavior change versus temporary suppression. And honestly, the piece that surprises most parents is this one. The most effective consequences aren't painful, they're predictable. And the child's developing brain responds to predictability in ways it simply can't respond to pain. Now, if you want to learn the full approach, I'll link to the workshop below at drlindsayEmmerson.com/workshop. Okay, but back to spanking. Here is one of the most important things that I want every parent to know. Child is not a little adult. I mean that literally, not as a metaphor. Children don't just know less than adults, they think differently. Their brains process the world through a completely different lens. And the psychologist who showed us this most clearly was Jean Piaget. Piaget spent decades mapping out exactly how children's thinking develops, what kids are capable of understanding at different ages, and what their brains can't access yet. Not won't, not choosing not to, literally cannot, because the wiring isn't there yet. So let me share two of my favorite examples because I think that they're really going to stick with you. The first is something called object permanence. Early in development, children don't understand that things continue to exist when they can't see them. Piaget demonstrated this by hiding a toy under a blanket. And so the young toddler who sees that, the toy under the blanket, it's literally gone, out of sight, out of mind. We know it's just hiding under the blanket, right? But the toddler can't see it. They can't conceptualize it under there. So in their mind, there's literally no toy left. You've probably experienced this yourself. It comes in really handy with kids under age 2 because you can easily redirect them away from something that you don't want them to touch. And they'll simply just forget about it if you hide it behind your back. It doesn't exist anymore. So at that age, it's clear to see that children's brains don't work the same as adult brains. Spanking is actually less common under age 2 for exactly that reason. Parents can't see that their child is not giving them a hard time but rather having a hard time because their brain is still developing. Now, where it gets harder for parents to maintain that empathy, and this is where I see most of my families that I work with, is in kids age 2 to 7. And here's why that is so important to understand. The next stage of development runs from about age 2 to 7. Children in this stage really start to seem like little adults. Not quite there physically, but they seem to be able to do a lot of what adults can do, but they still think very differently than we do. This stage is characterized by what Piaget called egocentrism. And that doesn't mean selfish, the way that we use that word for adults. Piaget used that term egocentrism to mean that a child is developmentally incapable of taking another person's perspective. So here's the classic example. Your child is sitting right in front of the TV. Their sibling walks in and they say, I can't see. Your child shifts over maybe 3 inches and looks completely satisfied because from where they're sitting, their view is perfect. They genuinely cannot construct the fact that someone else sees the world differently. So, for children roughly between age 2 and 7, that ability simply isn't fully wired yet. It's developing, but for most kids, it's not fully on board until at least age 7. So, the sibling can't see the TV, but your other child who's sitting there is perfectly happy. They don't understand why the sibling's upset. So the next time that your child refuses to share, seems unbothered by your frustration, or can't see how their behavior is affecting a sibling, ask yourself, is this defiance or is their brain developing and doing exactly what developing brains do? Isn't that fascinating? And isn't it also just a little bit of a relief to think about it that way? So you may be thinking, understanding child development is interesting, but knowing why my child does something doesn't tell me what to do about it. Now, actually, it does. And that's exactly what changed everything for the mom that I've been working with. Before she had this understanding, every misbehavior felt like a choice her daughter was making against her. She knew the rule, she was choosing to break it, she was being defiant. And when you believe that your child is choosing to defy you, physical punishment feels almost logical. It's a response to an act of will. But once she understood that her 6-year-old genuinely couldn't hold abstract rules in her mind the way that an adult can, that this wasn't just stubbornness, it was really her brain in the middle of developing. She stopped experiencing behavior as a fight. And when you stop feeling like you're in a fight with your child, you stop fighting back. And once she understood that concept of egocentrism, that her daughter's inability to see how her behavior affected others wasn't a personality flaw, but a stage that she would actually grow out of, she stopped taking it personally and feeling like it had to be punished. And when you stop taking that behavior personally, you can then access your calm. And you can instead go into teaching mode and guide your child toward developing that understanding, not rushing it because their brain only develops as quickly as it can, but guiding them to help them get there one day. Now, this is what I call the fifth C in my 5 C's framework. Check yourself. One of the most powerful things that you can do as a parent is recognize when your own nervous system is driving your response, when you're reacting from a flooded, overwhelmed state rather than responding from a calm, regulated one. This developmental lens is what gave this mom access to her own emotional regulation. And that access is what changed her parenting. So, this is the shift, not just a new technique, but a new way of seeing. And I want you to really feel like this is concrete for you because what happened next for this mom is the part that matters the most. When your child's behavior stops feeling like an attack and it starts being information about where they're developmentally, everything changes. The frustration doesn't disappear, but it becomes something that you can work with. You become curious instead of reactive. And curiosity is what opens the door to actual effective discipline. I want to say something clearly before we close. There are many, many powerful parenting strategies that do not involve physical punishment. You're not choosing between spanking and chaos. That is not the choice in front of you. The mom I work with is now using natural and logical consequences. That's the 4C in my framework, consequences. Consequences that connect directly to the behavior that her daughter's developing brain can actually trace and understand. She's presenting choices before conflict arises, which is the third C, choices and checkpoints. So her daughter has a sense of ownership and autonomy with clear limits. She's setting expectations ahead of challenging moments rather than reacting when everyone is already emotionally dysregulated. Now, these are not complicated tools, but they are tools that she didn't know she had because no one had ever taught her what her daughter's brain was actually ready for. And here's what she told me recently: more and more often, she's resisting that immediate urge to spank and choosing a different strategy. And she's seeing that choice pay off in her daughter's behavior and in how she feels as a parent. That is what I want for you. Not perfection, not a guarantee that behavior changes overnight, but the feeling of having real tools, tools that leave you feeling confident instead of guilty, tools that build relationships that you want with your child instead of slowly eroding it. So you have options and you deserve to know what they are. Picture this. 3 months from now, you're at the dinner table and your child does something that used to send you straight over the edge into that flooded, helpless feeling. The same moment that in the past ended with spanking and guilt and the same behavior again an hour later. But this time, something's different. You feel that frustration rise, and then you feel it shift because you know what you're looking at. You see a developing brain, not a defiant child. You see a stage, not a personality flaw. And instead of that hot wave of panic, you feel something closer to calm. You take a deep breath, you respond, not from fear or frustration, but from understanding. And you watch your child's face go from braced and closed to open, a little surprised and a little softer. You think, this is what it can feel like every single time. That's what changed for the mom I told you about at the beginning of this video, the one who used to feel sick every time she spanked. She sent me a message recently. She told me that she'd gone 3 weeks without spanking for the first time in years, not because she became a different parent, because she learned to see her daughter differently. Choosing discipline without spanking isn't about erasing your past. It's not about becoming a perfect parent. It's about deciding your child's behavior and your relationship with them to serve tools that actually work long term, tools that build the skills you actually want your child to have: self regulation, empathy, the ability to make good choices when you're not standing right there. You came to this video because something in you was already looking for that. You're not starting from zero. You've got this. Now, if you want to go deeper, I have a free workshop where I'll walk you through the complete 5 C's framework, the full system I use to help parents build better behavior without yelling, without spanking, and without the kind of discipline that leaves everyone feeling awful. You can register at drlindsayemmerson.com/workshop, and I'll link to it below. Comment guilt below if this video put words to something that you've already been quietly feeling. I read every single one, and it helps this content reach more parents who need it. And if you want to understand more about why some parenting approaches build lasting change while others don't, make sure you check out my next video on parenting styles. It runs through all 4 types and explains exactly how authoritarian parenting, including spanking, affects your child's long term development. I'll link to it right here. Keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey.